Between Harrisburg and Bloomsburg, there's a main line that connects the two cities. Although this main line is a tad bit unusual. You see, there is a track that leaps off the main line. The line splits into a Y. You see, this line is for industry reasons. Basically, there is another industry that's in the middle of nowhere, and they had to get there. The solution? Build a Y towards the industry. Now, there are things wrong about this line. In fact, engineers dread going down this line. You see, the engines have to head tender first if they want to drop off their goods, because there's no loop or Y at the end of the line. This is pretty frustrating and a bit risky, because the railroad did not care about people's safety at this point. So the crews decided to take very carefully down this line. On the line, there is a bridge, which engineers had to be very cautious, because one slight bump, then they could derail and maybe fall into the water. Thankfully, engineers have been really cautious around that, but it would come to bite them sooner or later. An engineer and fireman were tasked to take 5213, a Pacific locomotive who usually pull passenger trains, up the line to drop off some goods. Although they didn't encounter for the weather that night. It was raining cats and dogs, and there was lightning, so it made it hard to see through the night. They made sure to keep a good eye out, but trouble was coming their way. While the bridge was old, it was still stable, but a train passing over the bridge accidentally dropped one of their loads, dead on the rails. The crew did not know what was coming next. As they made it across the bridge, the caboose hit the debris and diverted off the side of the bridge. While the train was still going, it shoved the rest of the cars off the bridge until the locomotive itself was teetering over the edge. The engineer and fireman held on for dear life. Thankfully, the fireman was able to escape, but as soon as he stepped off, the locomotive plunged into the water. The engineer and the locomotive were lost. The fireman gave his witness, but he felt regret for letting one of his colleagues die and pass away. Years went by, and the railroad was falling on hard times. Then the incident occurred. On one rainy night, a locomotive with its crew was tasked to take a train up the line to the main line. As soon as everything was set up, they gave 2 long blasts of the whistle and set off into the night. As soon as they left, they came across the bridge. Now, nobody knows exactly what happened, but for some reason, the locomotive broke down. The locomotive seemed fine. It just wasn't moving, even though there was plenty enough steam pressure in the boiler. They were stuck. The conductor went back to get some help. He came back and said that help was on its way, but it would take a while. So, they decided to wait it out until they heard something. It sounded like a whistle in the distance, but it wasn't any other whistle they heard of. Then, in the distance, they saw a light. It looked like a steam locomotive light, but bigger and brighter. The crew were a bit anxious. Have they came already? But they couldn't have. They said that it would take a while to get here. So, they decided to check it out. They leaned over the cab, and they saw it. It was a white Pacific, like the one that fell into the water many years ago. The engineer and fireman read the number board. It was 5213, the locomotive that fell into the water below. They were pretty anxious, to say the least, until the locomotive let out a very crying whistle, and then they both screamed, and then silence. Silence came. Soon it was dawn, and they finally arrived, but what they found was deeply disturbing. There was no engine. Only the train was left. They went into the caboose and they found the conductor, who was passed out. Once he woke up, he explained what happened. First he heard a whistle, then some screams, and then he blacked out. And that was it. They were very confused and puzzled about the whole situation and very disturbed. How can a locomotive just disappear out of thin air? Ever since that, the line was abandoned. Grass and trees grew where the tracks are, and dirt piled against the tracks as well. The main line now is owned by Norfolk Southern, and also some CSX locomotives travel onto the line also. But some engineers can hear the whistle in the distance up the line. There have been some accounts where people traveled up the line. Some never came back, while others were passed out on the line. They gave out their witness, and they all said the same thing. They saw a white light, and then they suddenly passed out. Nobody knows exactly what's up there, but whatever you do, don't travel up the old line, or you just might get a greeting from the white light.